Hello all, I'm the Mad Pastor. Welcome to the Mad Pastor Reacts, where I pit my wits, education, experience, and understanding against some of the internet's most famous preachers. This week we got a big doozy, a big old whale, Joel Osteen, and his sermon entitled, Invite God into Your Difficulties. Now there's two of them, so I'm not sure which one this is, but I'll put a link down in the description if you want to see the original one. So with no further ado, let's get into it.
I like to start with something funny.
I like to start out with scripture. I mean, I know that's like just such a right off the bat kind of like crappy thing to say, but I think starting out with a joke is not as strong as starting off with the text.
Say it like you mean it. This is my Bible. I am what it says I am. I have what it says I have.
So there is something about pastors having the entire crowd say something together, and this is nothing new. We've been saying creeds together for a long time, but there is a new way in which it's being used, and it is a little bit indoctrinating. It makes my butthole pucker. I don't know what else to say about it. It feels cringy. It feels bad the way that they do it.
Instead of just praying, God, get me out, why don't you start praying, God, come in to this hospital room. Come into this trouble at work where the people aren't fair. Come into this anxiety that I'm dealing with.
I actually agree with that. I think that's a good point. Like, yes, invite God into the troubles. Don't think of God as a Santa Claus who's only there to make your life feel better, but instead acknowledge that feeling bad is part of life.
He comes in and gives you favor despite who's trying to push you down. But when you ask God to come in, you can be at rest.
See, well, this is always the kind of the bait and switch a little bit. He says, invite God into the troubles, but then he goes on, because God will make the troubles not bad. Like, no, that's not the way it works.
You don't have to fight everything. Live upset, can't sleep at night. That happens when you're only focused on getting out.
So this is another thing that pastors are selling a lot. Non-denom, Baptist, prosperity pastors sell this a lot. You don't have to feel your feelings. It's the wrong, unhealthy way to do things. You should be feeling your feelings. You should be involving God in what you're feeling. That's not going to sell because I'm saying you're going to feel bad kind of regardless. There's going to be bad feelings in life. He's saying there's a way to escape your bad feelings. Let God into them and then you won't feel bad. You don't have to feel bad. And it's a constant ploy of prosperity and non-denom and big box churches. They tell you don't have to feel bad. If you're following Jesus to not feel bad, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work.
Help me to not just go through this situation. Help me to grow through it.
So that's true. Grow through it. That's true. But I suspect that what he means when he says grow through it is to not feel that way. And that is not true.
God works in the trouble. He works in the uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, but how? You're not articulating how. Your articulation of how is, I don't have to feel bad. In fact, you should feel bad. You in particular should feel bad about what you're doing. But, when you have an entire financial empire around the idea that you never have to feel anything you don't want to feel, well, then this is what you get.
When he brings you out, no one will be able to deny that his favor is on you.
Yes, they will. Of course they will. That's not even remotely true. I know tons of people who have said God's favor is on me, and I've been like, I'm not sure that's the way to interpret that.
When you go through the rivers, they will not overwhelm you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. I will be with you in the fire, in the flood, in the famine.
So that's not one verse, that's multiple verses from multiple parts of Scripture.
Everything will change if you'll start inviting God into the fire.
Everything will change. Do you hear it? It's a little bit of, it's like a slimy way of, if you'll just invite God in, then everything will be all right. Like, no, it won't. That's not the way God works.
The right attitude is, God, I know you're going to bring me out.
His whole thing is about not bringing you out. And then he goes on, God will bring you out. I don't think he has a cohesive message. I think he's just kind of like offering platitudes to make people feel better.
When you invite God into your difficulty, you'll feel him breathing in your direction.
So he's making not a promise, because I'm going to do a whole video about how addicted non-denom pastors are to the idea of God's promises. He's not making a promise, but he's making an overt statement that if you do this, you will feel this. That's a clear red flag. So this idea that if you do this, you will feel a certain way, it's just not real. It's not right.
Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because you are with me.
So he keeps quoting scripture, but he hasn't actually read a text that is going to be the basis of his sermon yet. I'm not sure if he will.
When you've invited him into your situation, you'll have a smile in the middle of the difficulty.
So again, more statements about how you are going to feel if you'll invite God into it.
Joel, I can't enjoy my life. I have this child that's off course. I'm dealing with an illness. My finances are low.
This is a very tricky thing that he's doing here. And this is what a lot of pastors do that are crappy pastors. He's assuming the voice of the listener, and then he uses his own first name. Joel, I can't do that. Allowing people to feel like they actually have access to him. He's giving them the idea that they could be like, hey, Joel, I'm not sure. And this guy would never, ever have any contact with any of these pieces of shit beneath him. He is not your pastor. He's on a stage with a golden globe behind him. You can't get access to him.
You have to do like David. Father, thank you that you are with me right here in this valley. I may not see a way, but I know you have a way.
This is the same sermon I've heard over and over and over again from these it's like they're targeting people whose lives are going wrong. He's lifting up examples of people who have real problems, and then he's saying, you don't need to solve those problems, you just need to have a better attitude. And then those problems will go away one day. Like, no, they won't. Not if you don't do something about them. If you're in debt, you have to change your behavior. If you're addicted, you have to change your behavior. If you keep on sabotaging your personal relationships, you have to change your behavior. And he's not offering any helpful advice in any of those places. He's just saying, change your attitude. Yeah, well, if it was that easy, then, we wouldn't be in this, problem. Okay, that's about all I can take. We will continue to analyze Joel Osteen's sermon in the next episode of The Mad Pastor Reacts. I hope you will join us, and God bless.